Hi, everybody, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 33 of Power Networking Media's feature program, Spotlight on Small Business. I'm your host, Moshe Klein. Spotlight introduces you to successful small business owners who share content and information that you don't want to miss. Today, I'm very pleased to welcome my friend and networking partner, Amanda Schneider. Amanda is the executive director at a not-for-profit organization called Amplify Voices. Amanda, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Moshe. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited.
The honor is mine, and I say that sincerely because you and I have known each other for a few years now. We've networked together, we've done business together. It's been a real privilege and a real learning opportunity for me. Let's just jump right in. I want to tell you why I thought to invite you onto the program this week. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been writing a few articles that I've published about entrepreneurship, and your resume is so impressive, so deep. You are a former educator. You have a successful experience as a for-profit business owner, and now you've turned the steering wheel 180 degrees, and here you are running a not-for-profit organization. So tell us how you made that decision. And of course, we're all interested to hear a little bit about your organization, Amplify Voices.
Wonderful. Yeah, so I just kind of developed into this role this last year. I started a speaker development program early on in the year that was themed and, specifically for survivors of trafficking and sexual assault. And I went through the 90-day program just as a speaker. I got to the end in March, and it was a stage event. Really powerful, experienced the power of being able to focus on the triumph over what happened to me and speak powerfully about it and be seen and heard. I joke around, not joke around, but standing on that stage delivering my talk was one of the best days of my life, aside from my marriage and birth of my kids. It was just such an empowering experience. And I got to the end of it and I learned about the mission of Amplify Voices, which is discovering, developing, and amplifying the voices of those who have been historically silenced, misunderstood, or oppressed to bring about more compassion into the world. Now, that's really, I'm very much aligned with that spiritually. And I got to the end of the program and I told Deb, the founder, I said, I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. I really believe in this mission. It's bigger than this group. There's so many voices out there that are oppressed, misunderstood. And, about a decade ago, I experienced the power of listening to somebody's story, somebody that I had labeled and I had a stereotype for, and I just had this label and stereotype. And when I listened to his story, I suddenly saw a human being in front of me. And since that time, I have learned the power of stories to bring about more compassion. And when I learned about what Amplify was about and where it was headed, I wanted to get involved. And so I stepped into the role of executive director officially in September of this year.
Well, congratulations. I know that you're very passionate about helping people in general. And I know that you've been through a very horrible trauma in your life, which you've spoken about publicly, so it's no secret. And I'm certain that that's the glue that is binding you together with this wonderful organization. I'm curious your opinion about this. I'm guessing that after your trauma personally, it wasn't easy for you to talk about it at all. I do know, being Jewish, I was growing up in a community of people who went through concentration camps where they were the only survivors. Their family was either shot or gassed right in front of them. And I know for decades, they didn't talk about it. The world was different back then. And I think it's a better world in the sense that we have somebody like Amanda Schneider championing the causes of people who are oppressed. Tell me a little bit about, I'm going to read from your website. It says Amplify serves individuals who've been oppressed, misunderstood or silenced, and who want to use their voice as an instrument of change. But I don't think that everybody who's been through a trauma, whatever that trauma might be, either feels comfortable or understands how to use their voice to champion a cause and to help others. Tell us a little bit about how the program helps people do that.
Absolutely. So it's important to note that our programming now looks different than how we started. We do not start with these stage events. And so it's important for people to understand that by becoming a speaker and going through our program, it's not standing on a stage in front of people. We discovered that there is so much, a lot of, when an adverse experience happens to you, and I think we all have had adverse experiences, it's common to feel, isolated, like you're the only one, maybe some fear of judgment, shame. And I think that's what keeps a lot of us silent and not speaking. So we start with what we call speaker circles now, which are groups of 7 participants. We create a very safe space. It's virtual, and they're paired with a buddy who is a volunteer, just to kind of be an extra touch point for them. So we create this safe space. We create community and connection within that. And over a 30-day period, they begin to develop a message, a talk. And at the end of the 30 days, they deliver it just within that very safe space. And in a lot of cases, it's just even being seen and heard by one person that can create that transformation. And we've also seen, and what I saw right after my experience happened, when I speak and when I get uncomfortable, but I speak and share my truth, I give permission for somebody else to come forward and share theirs. And that happened to me so much. And we've seen that happen time and time again with our speaker circles. And when we do our watch parties, women have come forward. We had one, I've been given permission to use her name, Marcella. She's in her 50s and she had herself essentially muted her entire life after a childhood of molestation. And in watching our talks, finally felt safe enough to come forward and speak. And she was one of our first speaker circle participants. And she is doing this so that her granddaughters do not grow up in the same world that she grew up in. So there's so much power in using your voice.
I think it's beyond fantastic what you're doing. We are so quickly running out of time. We can do a whole program just on one of the many wonderful programs that you're running, but I do want to pick your brain just super briefly about something that I encountered firsthand as I was serving for a number of years as on the board of directors of an organization called Arizona at Work. And they're trying to help match up people looking for jobs with employers who are looking to hire qualified people. And one of the things that I learned about was that there is an entire community of former offenders, people who have violated the law and have done their time and have come out. And in many cases, they're very talented people, but they cannot find a job because of that felony conviction on their record. One example of a gentleman, and I'd like you to tell me maybe how your program could help with something like this. One gentleman was a qualified mechanic, an auto mechanic. He committed a violation related to drugs, served time in prison, came out, and now he cannot get a job because of that felony conviction, but not connected with his skill sets. And he feels awful about this. And he is telling me that there are hundreds of other people like him, qualified people wanting to work, wanting to pay taxes, support their families, but they can't get a job. How could a program like yours, Amanda, help somebody like that?
Great question. And it's very timely and relevant because we're actually moving into the formerly incarcerated community in first quarter of 2022. So wow. I love this question. So what happens is, our main intention is to create this tidal wave of change, putting forth positive, compelling messages in these communities. And there is a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of, labels and stereotypes for those who have been formerly incarcerated. And by going through this program, in addition to the connection and community that these individuals will create amongst themselves, the public will start listening to these talks and seeing human beings and what they actually go through afterwards. And we know with state legislation and different things like that, it's a grassroots effort. And the more minds that we can open up and eyes that we can open up and show and bring about more compassion, that's going to hopefully open up, some different changes to make it easier for these individuals to get back into being, what they want, productive citizens in life that they currently struggle with.
And there's strength in numbers. And it sounds like your organization can bring like-minded people together that can support each other. Amanda, sadly, we are out of time. I could talk to you for hours and we would have, probably just be scratching the surface to learn, but promise me you'll come back again as a returning guest so we can continue this important dialogue. In the meantime, between now and your next visit on the program, tell our listeners who might want to learn more about Amplify Voices, maybe make a donation or get involved in some way. What's the best way to reach you, Amanda?
The best way to reach me is by my email or phone. My email is amanda@amplifyvoices.org. Super simple. And then can I give my phone number out here? I'm okay with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. It's 480-567-2155. So.
Amanda Schneider, Executive Director at a wonderful not-for-profit organization called Amplify Voices. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a guest on Spotlight on Small Business. I really enjoyed our conversation. If you'd like to be a guest on Spotlight, just send an email to team@powernetworkingteam.com and we'll make those arrangements right away. Until next time, good luck and good networking.